Rose is your name, but when you poop it sure don't smell like roses. You're number 2, burns the hair in my nose. But we fought hand in paw, now your poop don't stink at all. Now that the air is clear, I'll treasure your front and rear, my sweet Rose.
Instantly neutralize poop stink with Poop Fighter from World's Best Cat Litter for the world's best cat.
Hope for tomorrow, good enough today. Oh yeah, hope for tomorrow, good enough today.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Good Enough Today, the podcast where we share stories of people showing up authentically, even when life gets rough. I'm your host, Cheremma Lee, and today my special guest is Shelly Grabe. Hey, Shelly, thank you for joining me. And this is a special podcast because I've gotten a little bit of feedback from my listeners that says, Cheremma, you're actually not being vulnerable. You are just observing vulnerability. And so Shelly's here to help me today, and she is going to actually interview me and put me on the hot seat so that you guys can have all of your questions answered and get some of that feedback where I get to be vulnerable for all of you because you know how much I love it. So, Shelly, thank you. And I appreciate you with your Good Enough Today merch. I love it.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I know it's hard to be vulnerable and share your stories. So I get it. It's hard. It's hard for you. Yeah.
And I got to say that Shelly is a co-host of the Adjacent podcast. Woo, woo. And she is part of Shody Media, who actually produces Good Enough Today. So Shelly is being a trooper and a great supporter by helping me out today. So thank you, Shelly.
Of course. I do think you have shared some vulnerability, especially in your interview with your mom.
Mm-hmm. See, thank you, Shelly. Thank you for telling people that I was vulnerable there.
Yeah. And I think in all of your interviews, you allow everybody to share, and then you share your insecurities and such with what they share. So I think you've been very vulnerable, but let's open it up and go real deep. So
thank you, Shelly. I appreciate that because on my scale of vulnerability, I have been very vulnerable, but I guess maybe from vulnerable people, they're like, Cheremma, we want to know more. And I'm like, I told you everything I got. So,
well, I always think when you do the PEMs, which we're getting ready to do, I'm always like, sometimes you, comment on how you're feeling. And I would like to hear that more because I think, people come on and they're putting a nice light on. And like today, before I joined you, I was like, oh, what are my PEMs? That I think that I love that question, by the way.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's actually great feedback too. So in the new interviews coming up, I will also share my PEMs because I think that could be useful for listeners to understand where I am that day, even though I am interviewing people and being on the hot seat as well. So I think that'll be it. That's a great way to go forward, Shelly.
Yeah, and I think people knowing not everybody is an 8.
Yes.
It's good to hear. It's like authentically, what are your PEMs? So let's start there. Cheremma, what are your PEMs?
Oh, okay. So today, physically, I'm about a 5.5 today. Emotionally, I would say I'm about a 6.5 today. I like halves if you haven't noticed.
Yeah.
And then mentally, I would say I have to pick a number, so I will say a 5, but I think it's just varying from 5 to 7 because I'm exhausted right now. But I would say somewhere in between there throughout the day.
Okay, and you just shared your PEMs, and I love them. Why are you exhausted? I know, but your listeners don't. So tell us what your week has looked like.
Okay, so
it's been heavy.
Yeah, it has been heavy, and so this week, for most of you listeners don't really understand. I do have a full-time job, and so I have a full-time job, and then I'm the executive director of Unabridged Academy, and I'm hosting Good Enough Today. And so there are a lot of little things that go into this. And I tell people that, I get bored and I just create another job for myself. And so I have to find another way to be bored. Like, what do you do when you're bored? Please share with me, because I don't want to create any more jobs. but so the week is so good enough today. You would think that doing a podcast is not that difficult. And the podcasting part, like this part, is the easy part. This is the part that you love. I get to talk to guests. I get to learn about them. But the truth of it is that I don't know anything about podcasting. I don't know anything about the video. I don't know anything about editing. So this is like learning to read again for me, right? And so I am having to spend a lot of time and energy trying to learn social media, trying to learn how to market it, trying to edit YouTube videos, trying to create merchandise, learning how to do this. How do you market things? How do you not do this? What should you do? And that is very exhausting, on top of creating events and going out into the community and doing things. So I'm just trying to stay afloat.
Yeah. And so I saw you this week, and I saw you for about an hour, and you were rushing off to an event, and you mentioned that you had another event the next day, and that you were going to have, and then you were going to be traveling.
Yes. That is kind of how my weeks go, is that there are, and you would think that I'd spread them out, but that's just not how it works, right? I try to spread things out, and then there are 4 things in a day, and I'm trying to be the person who can show up for my family, show up for my partner, show up for my coworkers, right? And then show up for the people who depend on me, to make sure that Good Enough Today is going well, that Unabridged is going well, and that we can, keep things moving. And so I'm just trying to put one foot in front of the other and continue to move forward, because sometimes that's rough, but I am doing it. And that's not to mention any of the health stuff, which I know that we'll get to.
Yeah. And so let's go back to the PEMs, because I think people, want to have a 10.
Yes.
And I think people are always trying to get to the 10, and we all need to recognize that we're all different. Our bodies are at different ages and different levels. And if you don't mind, I'm going to share a story. My Jody's husband has started having a little trouble sleeping. And so he went to, he's gone to a couple doctors, and they're like, that at our age, at your age, we all have trouble sleeping. And so accept that you're not going to sleep for an entire 8 hours, and be okay with that. And so I think that's where the PEM is coming from. And lots of your guests have been like 8, 9,
yes,
8, 7, 7, 7, and you're like, you guys,
yes,
holy hell,
yeah. No, I am always so amazed by the fact that they are 8s, right? I'm like, 8. What would that feel like on a normal day? Like, I don't know the last time that I've been an 8, especially physically. Actually, I probably do know the last time I've been an 8 physically, but emotionally, mentally, I think that I can get to an 8 more often. But some of them are like 9.5, and I'm like, am I pessimistic? Like, maybe I'm just a pessimistic person, because 10 for me is like the best day I've ever had, right? And 1 is like you're dead almost, right? Like you can't get out of bed, you can't move. And so being at and feeling your best mentally, emotionally, physically at any point, that is amazing to me. And so I think that, especially because I operate probably around a 6 most days, and then sometimes I'm operating at like a 4, right, physically, and those days look very different, right? If I can get to a 7, I am excited, because I'm doing pretty well at a 7. So feeling an 8 or a 9, I'm hopeful. Let's say I'm hopeful for tomorrow for those 8 and 9s, but those are a little bit rougher to attain. So
yeah, and I think you're very genuine in your rating system, and I do think that you're really examining it. And I think a 5 is a solid greatness.
Yes, and that's why I say, when if I'm asking my friends and I'm sending PEM to them, If they go below a 5, that's when I need to ask a follow-up question.
Exactly.
And then sometimes I say, is this a 5 that's trending up or a 5 that's trending down? Like, what kind of 5 are we at right now?
Yeah.
Because I need to know. But 5, I think, is, middle of the road. I'm here, I'm well, and I'm moving forward. But I'm not quite great and I'm not quite bad, but we're rocking, but just not rolling as fast as we possibly could, right?
Yeah.
So I think most of the time a 5 is good enough today, right? That's where you are.
Agreed. And I think a 5 is good.
Yes, I completely agree. I function at 5 most of the time.
Yeah.
And it gets to be one of those things where like I said, if I can get to a 7, oh man, like that is optimal. I feel like I could run a marathon, even though I've never been able to run a marathon, right? But at 7, I feel the best.
I do think the guests that you've had on are like super incredible humans. And I do think they function at 7, 8, 9s. They stay in that range because you have some major dynamic, incredible people. And so I think vulnerability is like you don't want to always put it out there that I'm just at a 4 today. And and so I appreciate you opening up a space where people can really examine that.
Absolutely. And I think that, one of the things that I'm learning from my guests, and I think that maybe I created Good Enough Today more for myself than for other people, right, is to learn everything from my guests. But one of the things that I've learned from them is that they have been in the space of like 3 and 2 and 1. And then the way that they've shaped their perspective based upon their experiences has allowed them to kind of flourish in those higher numbers at this point. But that's because they did the work, right? Or they've gone through the tough times. And that's not to say that it doesn't happen again, but they just have, I think there's a quote out there that says you just kind of learn how to do it, like do the hard stuff. You learn how to cope with it and you can just do it easier because you've been through it, you've had that experience. And I think that that's kind of, when you talk about perspective, that is helpful to see that, hey, you know what? These people are operating with a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of good in their lives. There's a lot of bad in their lives. And they're choosing, right, to operate on this level. That's a little bit different physically, but mentally and emotionally, they're choosing this. And I think that kind of helps with the physical part because you can see the good things that are happening instead of focusing on like everything hurts, right? Instead of focusing on like, oh, my arm moves very well today, right? So I think that that's something that's important too.
Well, and allowing people to understand we don't all get there. We don't all get to live in that 9 space. Some of us physically are never going to have that opportunity. And I love the good enough today. I love am I good enough to get through today? Am I good enough to get one step in front of the other? And I think that's the story. But I also, through this process, I know that you shared your story a little bit when you were on our podcast. But I don't know if your listeners have heard all of it.
Because I don't think it's that interesting, Shelly.
It is interesting.
I don't think that it's that interesting.
I think it is, and I think it helps everybody understand where you're coming from, and I think that's, if you're willing to share it, I think it's very important for people to know what has brought you here.
Fair enough. That's fair enough. Well, I think that starting from the beginning, I think that people have heard the beginning, right? But I'll give a short synopsis of the beginning because I think that what people don't get enough of is where I am right now and how that impacts my day-to-day life, right? And how I keep going even though the days can look a little bit different than what they may appear on the camera or, while I'm talking to guests on the podcast. So in January of 2021, I woke up blind in one eye. That didn't last for very long. I didn't go to the doctor immediately because I'm that person, right? And that triggered a series of things where, starting from, I had this thumping in my head that wouldn't stop. And I was like, you know what, maybe I should go to the doctor about that. Went to the doctor, they couldn't figure it out, but you're not supposed to just have this thumping that's just always there. So that triggered a series of tests, from a temporal artery biopsy to, going to cardio. I think I've seen every specialist for the body, except for maybe a urologist, right? Because I don't think that they go for me. But I've seen every specialist trying to figure out what's going on. So every few months since then, it started out, I would have a lot of fatigue and weakness, and it was just difficult to be able to move, right? To walk, to function. And so I was functioning, when you talk about what level were you functioning at, I was probably a low 3.
Trying to lose weight? It's time to try Hers. At forhers.com/4u, you can access affordable, doctor-trusted weight loss treatments tailored just for you. These include oral medication kits or compounded GLP-1 injections. Through Hers, pricing for oral medication kits start at just $69 a month for a 10-month plan when paid in full upfront. No hidden fees, no membership fees. You shouldn't have to go out of your way to feel like yourself. Hers brings expert care straight to you with 100% online access to personalized treatment plans that put your goals first. Reach your weight loss goals with help through Hers. Get started at forhers.com/4u to access affordable, doctor-trusted weight loss plans. That's forhers.com/4u, forhers.com/4u. Paid for by Hims and Hers Health. Weight loss by Hers is not available everywhere. Compounded products are not FDA approved or verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. Restrictions at forhers.com apply.
Trying to function and practice law at the time, and just trying to figure out what is going on and not having anything that would help or work. And so I have to say that I've been blessed to have good healthcare professionals who have mostly taken me seriously and tried to figure it out. But also, in the process, they haven't figured it out, right? And so that makes it a little bit more difficult. So I've been diagnosed with quite a few different things, but it was idiopathic intracranial hypertension, which means I produce too much cerebral spinal fluid. And that can cause a host of other things. Like, I used to go and ride my bike for 5 to 10 miles per day just as a warm up in the mornings and things like that. I can't ride a bike anymore because I can't put a helmet on my head. So I get a very tender scalp. My head hurts. I wear stud earrings all the time because I can't wear heavy earrings. They make my head hurt. So my everyday life has been impacted in ways I just don't think about sometimes. Like, I can't twist my hair, right? I have a short haircut right now because I was going to have a head surgery, and I didn't want them to have to cut my hair and it to look really crazy, right? So I was like, at least I can try to shape it a little bit and look cute after this surgery where you're going to have to cut into my head, right? But haircuts, so right now I need a haircut, but I don't get a haircut that often because it hurts, right? It's not a comfortable feeling. Or going and getting your hair done. Like, you love to have someone wash your hair and do all these things. That's not a fun experience for me. So those things so right now in this process, they still don't know what's going on with me. The most recent thing that happened was in April, I got a blood clot. And earlier in the show, I mentioned that I knew when I felt an 8, right? I knew when I last felt an 8. And it was because when I got that blood clot, somehow I felt the best I've felt in years. I was like up and rolling. I felt like I could take on the world. And in the beginning, I told you guys I create more jobs when I get bored. And I was like, yes, I could do everything that I haven't been able to do. I was gardening. I was filling up everything in my yard. I was cleaning out stuff. I was rolling. But then, of course, you have to, you can't live with the blood clot, right? That's not something that's supposed to happen. To be fair to myself, I didn't know I had a blood clot. I just knew that my knee was swollen. And nothing would go. It wouldn't, like, I was like, oh, I must have tweaked it walking, right? And so I tried ice. I was like, ice isn't working. That's weird. And then I started getting bruises, and I was like, that's odd, right? And so then it got a little bit worse, and I was like, okay, maybe I should go to the doctor. So I went to the doctor, found out it was a blood clot, and got on blood thinners. And the blood thinners have allowed me to still be able to function at a pretty good level. I'm not sure why. That's the question of the day. And the problem is, though, that you can't take blood thinners just because, right? And here recently, I stopped taking the blood thinners, and as soon as I stopped taking the blood thinners, I started feeling bad again. So what does feeling bad mean? I think that's the question, right? Like,
Yeah.
what does it mean to feel bad? So I get these like really bad cramps in my legs. And so especially they're like Charlie horses. If you've ever been an athlete or just had a Charlie horse. So I'm talking about, I probably have there in my right calf, I have a Charlie horse that just doesn't go away. And when I was on the blood thinners, it was always gone. It was amazing. I felt so great. And so they are back, and I've gotten the fatigue back again, and just the headaches are back and more consistent than they were before, and just trying to navigate that space a little bit. So now I'm going back. I'm pretty much starting over with the doctors to try to figure out, okay, let's see what we have. I think the question that most people would ask is like, okay, well, what did a rheumatologist say? Right. So I've been tested for MS and all of those things, and none of those are showing up. And so it's not anything cardiac. The rheumatologist is trying some different things right now. So I just had a new visit with her, and I just had a visit with hematology, right? That's blood. And they're trying to figure out, is there something in your blood that are wrong with your blood that's causing these things to happen that we haven't figured out before? And then every few months, and so this is why I wasn't surprised about the blood clot, because every few months there's something new that's like, oh, this could kill you. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't think God wants me to die yet. So we're just gonna keep going. But I mean, I say that, and I say that like every day is so, I walk every day. I think that's well known that I go on my walks every day. Can't stop the walking. And usually those walks can take somewhere between 13 and 15 minutes per mile. And right now they're taking about 17 to 18 minutes per mile, depending on the day, sometimes 20. So I think, I feel like, oh, I can move very fast. And I'm like, no, you're actually not moving as fast as you think. But I think that you just, again, get up and you put one foot in front of the other, even though it sucks. It absolutely sucks sometimes. And I am not always the nicest Cheremma I can be, especially when physically I feel bad. Emotionally, I'm like, this really sucks and I don't want to do this. And mentally, I'm trying to just be present in the space that I need to so that I can get the things done for the day. So there we are.
Well, and you had said earlier that maybe you're not an optimist. You're not an optimist. If I were in pain to the level that you're in, and I got up every day and went for a walk, I would say that's pretty damn optimistic.
Thank you, Shelly. I'm going to leave today feeling like that I'm good enough. We might need to switch places.
No, I'm serious. Well, everybody's good enough, and I love your song. I love your singing song. You know that. I sing it all the time. I mean, what does day to day look like? I mean, when you wake up, is it pain? Is it
Absolutely. So you know what? That's interesting, because I think that earlier you said that everybody doesn't reach a 9, but some mornings I wake up and I don't know if it's between the time that your brain actually connects to your body or my body just doesn't know that it's awake yet, right? And there's a moment, and sometimes it's like 60 seconds, sometimes it's 25 seconds, sometimes it's a couple minutes longer, where I feel no pain at all, where there is just a moment. And I try to hold on to that for as long as possible, because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And so I'm so grateful for that moment, that I can say, you know what, right then is a 9, right? That 9 might not last. It might not last, but I got it, right? I got to feel it. I got to be in that moment. And I try not to move. I bet you that's the most still I'm ever in life, is to just don't move, don't breathe too much. Just stay in this right here before, everything starts rushing for you to think about what's happening. And I think that, people think that when you're doing these types of things, this is easy, and that I am different from other people in that I am continuing to walk and I'm continuing to do these things. And I had a couple of guests say that, it's a choice. It really is a choice. And I didn't always choose this, right? There were times when I chose to succumb to the way that I felt. But the problem is that you can be your worst enemy. And if you just listen to what's going on in your brain and you pay attention to all the negative thoughts, you can stay in what I call the suck for a very long time. And so if you choose to stay in there, life just sucks, right? And so for me, it's like, okay, well, and I'm a very logical person. I'm more logical than emotional. They'll tell you that on all the personality tests. But in my mind, it's like, well, if you're not gonna, take your own life, if you're gonna take that off the table, then you're gonna live. And are you gonna live and let it suck like this? Or are you gonna live and at least try to get those few moments when it's good, right? Where you can hold on to those. And what I've learned is that the more that I try to create moments, the more of those that I have, even if it is for a few seconds, right? Like it's not always going to be the way I felt when I got the blood clot, right? It's not going to be that way. Although that was amazing. If I could have that, I was like, I don't want to pray for a blood clot, but can I just, whatever made it happen, with the results of it was great. But I think that that's kind of what you hold on to. You have to find those small things that are like, okay, this is something that I can hold on to for today, for this moment, and it's okay. And then I have to actively choose throughout the day, Shelly. It's not like...
Yeah, we all do. We all do. Yeah.
And I think that, we can sensationalize it and make it feel like some people are special because they're making the choice. It's just that the choice is still hard. And you have to believe that you can actually still make the choice when it's hard.
Yeah.
And so, if you have to create an enemy, like my illness is my biggest enemy. It's my ops, as the young people say, right? Like, it's my ops and I'm not going to let it win. And so if I have to fight it, now, there are times, and, my closest friends will tell you that I'll wake up and say, I don't feel like fighting today. I don't want to fight. I just want to... I want to have peace, and I don't want to fight. I'm tired of fighting everything and everybody. And sometimes it gets to you, right? But you just, again, you wake up and you say, okay, I'm not going to fight fully today. Like, we're not going to be in an all-out brawl, but I'm going to get up and I'm going to take the things that I can that are still good, and I'm going to appreciate them, right? I can have my curls popping. I don't necessarily have to twist my hair. I didn't like dangly earrings that much anyway, right? So,
oh my gosh.
So there are things, I do look at my bike sometimes and get very, very upset and angry because I can't ride it the way that I want to. Now, let's be clear. I could ride my bike. The doctors don't want me to ride my bike right now.
I don't want you to ride your bike right now.
But you know what, Shelly? I've been thinking about this, so everybody can kind of chime in on this. I've been thinking that I just need to go try stuff and see what happens, right? Like, let's just push it to the limit and see how far this...
Let's get you a tricycle. I mean, come on. Let's be practical.
See, I'm not the practical person. I think that's also part of my personality, is the practicality. Is like, no, I'm like, I'm going out there and I'm going to ride 5 miles and we're going to see what's going to happen. And if I don't die, then I was successful, right? Like, that's when the logic, I think, goes out the window, because I do have a little bit of a risk-taking personality in me. So,
well, you sound like you just really want to live.
Yes.
Fully. And there's some restraints, and making that modification is hard. I mean, it happens with aging. You're much younger than I am, but the aging process is, I still mentally think I'm 12. Somebody just sent us a video of catching a possum, and I was like, well, I want to catch a possum. And so I'm like, and aging, this body has changed.
Yes.
And there's a great book called The Body Keeps the Score.
Mm-hmm.
And just such a powerful story. Highly recommend it. I talk about it all the time. Jody's like, please do not bring it up again. But it's such a good...
I have read it. I've read it. And I think that I have learned a lot from that book as well, because it talks about how you can use movement, right, to overcome so many different things. And I think that as we age, that's something that gets lost because we're so stuck on the hustle and bustle of everything else. And as much as I'd love to do everything else instead of just walking has probably saved my life, right? It has probably given me, and sometimes I don't want to walk. I want people to understand that there are mornings where it sucks. And the last thing I want to do is put those shoes on and walk out there. And especially when it's cold, I am a summer baby and I do not like the cold. But I'll be out there in my sweats and you can't see anything but my eyes and with my hood on, which makes my head hurt. But I'm out there. And it really is one of those things where sometimes you have to just, it's gonna be hard either way. It sucks and it's hard when I'm laying in bed and not doing anything. And then I feel worse about myself, about my community, about everything that's happening. Or I can still feel bad and try to get the little joy that I can out of being able to move, being able to walk around the block, being able to get my steps in, being able to do the things that I can take for granted and other people are trying to do. And it's one of those things where I'm like, Shrima, stop being a baby, right? Stop being a baby. There are people who are going through far worse, but it doesn't minimize the fact that it still sucks for me. And so those are one of those things. So when you talk about Good Enough Today and how it all got started, it's really me comparing myself to the things that I want to do and being able and not being able to do them.
Yes.
And then just recognizing that what I'm doing right now is actually good enough today. Like, just, you have to be present for what's right now and then try to make the best out of whatever the circumstance is. And then also, as I've learned from a lot of my listeners, is really, listeners and guests, is really, you get to choose. You get to choose how you see the life ahead of you. And of course, there's not all, we don't have control over every variable.
Exactly.
But you do get to say, you know what? I would love to live an abundant life. And you can start living in that truth. And abundance doesn't mean that I get to travel to Italy all the time. But if somebody wants to take me to Italy.
Trying to lose weight? It's time to try Hers. At forhers.com/4u, you can access affordable, doctor-trusted weight loss treatments tailored just for you. These include oral medication kits or compounded GLP-1 injections. Through Hers, pricing for oral medication kits start at just $69 a month for a 10-month plan when paid in full upfront. No hidden fees, no membership fees. You shouldn't have to go out of your way to feel like yourself. Hers brings expert care straight to you with 100% online access to personalized treatment plans that put your goals first. Reach your weight loss goals with help through Hers. Get started at forhers.com/4u to access affordable, doctor-trusted weight loss plans. That's forhers.com/4u, forhers.com/4u. Paid for by Hims and Hers Health. Weight loss by Hers is not available everywhere. Compounded products are not FDA approved or verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. Restrictions at forhers.com apply.
Listen, or sponsor that trip to Italy. But it could be my abundant life is being able to do things on my own terms, or getting a massage, or doing things that make me happy, which could just be playing with my nephew. I might just get to choose to go play with my nephew, the big one and the little one, right? Like, let's just go spend some time with the people that you love and then try to make the best out of the circumstances that you have.
It sounds like you have this super dynamic life and something has slowed you down.
Yeah, and I think that's purposeful, right? I think that
Exactly.
I think that even though I don't like it, let's be clear, Shelly, I do not like it. But I think that God, or whoever you believe in, right, the universe, but I believe in God. So I think that God has a way of humbling us all. And we start to believe that it's us that are doing the things, right? As much as I was going to church and being in the groups and doing all the stuff, and I think that sometimes we get lost in what our purpose is, and we want it to be the way that we want it to be. I would not be doing this podcast if I hadn't ever gotten sick, right? I wouldn't be sharing this story. Good Enough Today wouldn't work. And I think that that's the reason.
Exactly.
Right. And so it's to come and share the story. And this is not something I want to do. I think people have to understand that sometimes you're called to do something that's bigger than you, and you have to do it. And I have been fighting this for probably 2 years. That might be why I still feel bad, right? Like, because I'm too stubborn to be like, okay, God, whatever. I just but I really have been fighting this because I just wanted to be like, okay, I'll just eat better. Like, what are we going to, I'll just stop eating everything, no sugar, no this. I try all those things and like, oh, you're still sick, right? So you try to do what you can, but sometimes you have to know what your purpose is and then walk in that calling, which is not an easy feat either. So people who you see out here doing it, I could promise you that the struggle and the story behind it, there's always a story behind it for sure.
I agree. I 100% agree. I feel it every morning. I feel like there's messages coming to me, and it's like, okay, now take this on, take this on, and Jody's like, stop it, no more. And I'm like, no, there's something behind this, and I have to listen, and I have to lean in, and I think your shares are so important because there's so many people. I have loved ones that I've shared your podcast with that they have these struggles. They need to hear they're not alone.
Yes.
And I would like to ask listeners, if you're hearing Cheremma's story and you have some recommendations on what might be going on, please share it.
Yes.
I have a sister-in-law that for years and years, they could not figure out what was going on, a lot like your story. And they kept kind of treating her like a crazy woman. And you're a crazy woman. And finally, a doctor took her seriously, and she had lesions all over her spine.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it's MS. But it was ignored and ignored and ignored. And it was just like, so I think your story is so important. And I'm sorry, I find you to be a huge optimist that in spite of all the pain and everything, you keep charging forward. I mean, what's more optimistic than that? I'm sorry, I don't know what is.
I feel like, I don't have much of a choice, right? People are like, and I guess I do have a choice, but the choice, the opposite is just so rough. And I think that you said something interesting there about advocating for yourself, right? I have been pretty lucky or blessed that the doctors haven't thought I was crazy because I asked, like, well, maybe you guys can't find anything. Is it psychological? And let's be clear, I see a therapist regularly.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that I would be able to get through this without being in therapy. But that's been my question. Y'all sure I'm not, like, maybe I'm making it up. Like, maybe it's me. And they're like, no, something's wrong. We can tell, like, by what's happening. You can tell the levels of your cerebrospinal fluid. We can tell this, your nervous system's doing this. But when something is wrong and there's no answer, it can drive you crazy in itself too. And then if you're not doing anything but focusing on that, then that becomes its own whirlwind of like just despair on its own, right? And I think that sometimes focusing on other people and trying to do good in other people's lives, that helps you a ton. And I don't think I put enough credit on that. And I think that, like you said, you get up and you think you have a purpose and you go and you do it. Do you know how many people, Shelly, don't go and live in their purpose because they have some kind of fear or something? And I have to admit that I say that it's outside of my comfort zone to do the podcast. But when we say it's outside of our comfort zone, what we're saying is that scares me, right? That scares me because I don't want to talk to people. I am an introvert. I don't want them to know about me. I don't want them to ask me how I'm doing. I don't want them, like, please just stay over there. But I do like people. I just don't like them all the time. Like, I just, I need it. And so how do you move past the fear of, like, what are you going to think? What are you going to think? I'm a weak person? Are you going to think that I'm not good enough? Are you going to look at my videos and be like, she doesn't know how to edit, right? Like, are you going to hear me on the podcast and be like, she could do this better? And I think that that's one of those things where we recognize the negatives so much more than we recognize the positives. And so I can listen to my podcast, and you and I were talking about how I don't want to listen to them after I start editing and all that. And I was like, do you get tired of hearing my voice? Because I get tired of it.
I love it.
But I think that, once you get into the space, right, you have to just keep moving. That's all I don't think that I see it the same way that you see it, because I am being highly critical because I'm like, I want to give the people a great product and I want you to feel all this about it, but I can't control what you get out of it, but I can control what I put into it. And I'm putting into it what I have for that day, for sure.
Exactly.
And And 100% of that 25%, I promise you guys are getting 100% of that 25%. And you can usually tell on social media, like I'm posting a video late at night. I probably just finished working and I'm like, hey, get on and listen to the podcast. Or I'm getting home at 9:30 and it took me 22 takes because I'm still not good at recording. And it's like, okay, I have to promote this. I have to try.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to keep trying. That's all I can do is keep trying. And hopefully it touches someone else. But also people can understand that it's okay to try and not be that great at it. And I'm not good at not being great at it, right? Like it makes me crazy. But at the same time, I'm like, no, how can I have good enough today and tell people that they're good enough and then not try and put out things that are the best that I can do for right now, where my skill set is, where my ability is, and just keep on trying.
That's what we do. That's all we do. Can we talk about your guest? I was just sharing this with somebody. I said on Cheremma's, you go so deep with people on your thing. I feel like after an episode that I personally know your guest. And I remember, I'm sorry, I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Which one? Isaac?
Isaac. He came to your party and I ran up and hugged him like we were best friends. And I had known him his whole life because I listened to that episode like 3 times. And he was like, who the hell like where did this crazy woman come from? And I was like, oh my gosh, Shelly, you have to remember you don't know these people.
Well, I think that I'm a naturally curious person.
Yeah.
And I really, really do like to learn about people, like to understand what makes them tick, because I love to learn. I don't like school that much, but I love to learn things, right? And so when I am talking to people before we start, I say, is there anything off limits? And they say, okay, nope, nothing's off limits. And I'm like, okay, well, here we go.
Okay.
And I don't have an intention of asking a question. I just try to ask the questions that people would ask if they were sitting there talking to them and they want to know more about how they figured something out.
Yeah.
Or, we talk about mentors and we don't all have access to everyone. And if I were these people's mentees, what would I ask them if I just had a moment to speak with them so that I could learn everything that I could possibly learn in the 60 minutes that I have and get the most out of the conversation so that I can figure out what makes them tick and why they don't stop and why they decided to do what they do. And then also understand, like, how are you making yourself do the things that you don't want to do? And I'm hoping that as I tell it from so many different perspectives, right? Because none of my guests are the same. None of them are the same. And I think that the reason why that is because I want people to know that the version of them exists in another person, and the willpower and the choice to try to do whatever the unthinkable or the thing that they're dreaming about is something that they can do too. So hopefully I'll have that version of you coming on and you will relate to that person, and it will make you understand that right now what you're doing is good enough. And then it'll help you for the next day to continue to be hopeful that you can make those steps and be consistent in reaching your goals and trying for the things that you think that are unattainable at this point.
Yeah.
So I sound like a motivational speaker, Shelly.
No, seriously. Every single episode, I'm like so engaging and honest and raw. And I mean, I'm like, what's next? Who's next?
That gets me in trouble at work, Shelly.
I bet. I would love to know. I want you to share those because I've heard your episodes, and you've brought up a couple of times is you don't know how to push to the next level. What is your goal financially with the podcast? What would you like to see happen?
Oh, Shelly, you're doing what I do. This is amazing. I don't know how comfortable I feel on this side of this, Shelly. I would. That's a great question. Financially, I would like. That's a good question. I will come back to the answer on whether or not there's a true number. But what I would like for Good Enough Today to be is a movement. I would love for people to understand that they're good enough today, and when they're talking to other people and they hear them not being good enough or them being down on themselves. They talk about and they rethink about that we are actually good enough today. So I would like for that to be something that resonates with people's spirits, and that they can look at their shirts or their hoodie or their hat, right, and say, you know what, I'm good enough today, and remember that in their hearts and their minds. And I would hope that that inspires them to do the thing that changes the world. And so I feel like I'm trying to change the world one person at a time.
Yes.
And if I can change the world for the person that actually changes the world for millions of people, then I hope that that's what Good Enough Today is as a movement. Now, financially, here's the thing, and I'm going to say this to you, and I know you're going to be like, Cheremma, we're your whole media company. Financially, I don't even know really how you make money off of the podcast, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I think I looked at my numbers. I was like, I made 27 cents. Yay. Right? Like, I'm rich. But I think that, that gets lost in the fact that it's not just the podcast, right? There's so many things that you try to market and get some money off of. I would love for Good Enough Today to not only be a movement, but allow me to bless my community, bless my family, and live in a freedom. For me, I'm like $10 million. That's what I want. $10 million. It's easy. Let's go make this 10 million real quick and then see how it works. And I think that that's the beginning, but I think that it's much bigger than what I could ever dream of. And it might not look like 10 million, but it's going to look like something. And I truly believe that. So hopefully it is 10 million, though. I wouldn't mind that.
No.
But I would love to be able to just share the concept and idea of Good Enough Today so that people, it resonates in the spirits of young people and older people alike, so that they really, really understand that they're good enough today.
Yes. But we realistically need to have financial backing. I'm going to say,
absolutely.
And so people can support it. How can they donate to your?
Okay,
Yes.
So we have a PayPal account, and it is on my website. You can log in and do that. You can sponsor an episode, and you can. I'm gonna have. So here's the thing about Shelly. Shelly runs our media group, and you know what? I appreciate Shelly so much because she has to deal with me, because you guys don't understand what that means. And so I'm supposed to have these products on Amazon, which I do. I do have these products on my phone. I listed right now. I got it in the email ready to go to you, Shelly. So there are some Amazon links of things. There's a shirt that's really soft and I love. And there are a few things there that I think that people can buy, and then I'll get a little bit of that. But really just sponsoring episodes, getting my name out there, sharing it. We're going to have some events coming up where I will be speaking a little bit and kind of seeing how I can help the community in different ways. But Amazon, listen to the podcast, put it on repeat as many times as you can. Get on YouTube. YouTube and Facebook is where I make the most money. Not yet, right? But that's where I make the most money. So if you listen through YouTube or watch the videos on Facebook, follow, like, subscribe, share, and it really does help a lot, not only for right now, but as it gets to be bigger. So however you can help with the movement, or if you have a skill of editing or something, especially video. Shelly does Shelly and Jordan. Jordan, I love you. I don't know that you know this, but Jordan, thank you so much for editing my audio and doing all the things you guys do to produce the show. But I really do, like, if there are skills that you guys see that I'm struggling with and you know the answer, please let me know.
Yeah.
Because that would be really helpful.
Yeah. And you do need to interview Jordan, because she has had a similar medical.
See, Jordan's hiding from me. Hiding from me because
she's in for it. She's ready for it.
All right. So Jordan and I are gonna make that connection. And for you guys, Jordan helps produce the show. So Jordan is in the background making sure that things go very well. Her and Shelly get on there, and they're trying to take my vision and make it right without me there. And I love it because if I were doing it myself, I'd probably stop doing a podcast.
Exactly. And we're so invested in it because we believe in it. Mm-hmm. And we think it's so important for people to know that even when you're struggling emotionally, physically, mentally, you have to keep going. We need you here. And even like on adjacent, especially in everything going on in society right now, we all need to lean in. We all need to be there for each other and support and love on each other. And so much goodness.
Yes. And I'm glad that you're saying that, because the one thing that I did not mention from Good Enough today is the community I want people to build. Because and I've said this before, that I discounted how much a community means as you're going through things. And that community can be one other person, but having people believe in you and understanding that I want you here on this earth to keep trying, because tomorrow can be much different than today. And I really hope that people are hearing that and understanding that there are people out there that love them and that want them to do well and believe that they can attain their dreams. And it just takes you believing in it, and don't stop. Just don't stop. Don't stop.
Man.
And I'm living this same principle, guys. I hope you really, really get that from this interview. I wanted to do an interview of me so that people understood that this is not an easy road. And it's still, I'm asking people to keep going, because I'm trying to keep going myself. And I think that it's important that we all just keep doing it. Put one foot in front of the other and keep moving forward. And it's not easy, but we're going to keep doing it.
Agreed. I love it. I love it so much. I'm so thankful for your show. Keep putting it out there, and you are an optimist.
I learned something, is that I'm an optimist. And I want to thank you, Shelly, for coming on today. And I think that I really want people to understand that just like I found Shelly, and she is one of my biggest fans, there's somebody out there. There is somebody out there that is your community. They're living proof that it's not easy, and they're making it happen. And they'll be there to support you. And if not, get on my comments. We will shout you out and make sure. And I forgot to say, if you have a story that you want to tell and that you think will help someone else, please reach out to me. And I will find a way to interview you and make sure that story gets told, so that we can help other people understand that they are enough, and that we can stay hopeful for tomorrow, but understand we're absolutely good enough today.
Hopeful for tomorrow, good enough today. Oh yeah, hopeful for tomorrow, good enough today.